Have you ever applied peel and stick wallpaper only to end up with a bubbled, crooked mess and something that's peeling off the wall after a couple weeks? Yep, I have too. But after many years of installing peel and stick wallpaper, I finally cracked the code. Today, I am transforming my dining room with some gorgeous cottage-inspired peel and stick wallpaper. And I'm gonna share all of the secret application tips that actually work in real life, not just in those perfect Instagram photos. This makeover completely transformed my dining room, and it only took one afternoon. This is how my dining room looked before. I really like it, but I felt like it needed a little bit more character and it needed to match the traditional vibe of my home a little bit more. When we built our home 13 years ago, we added this beautiful board and batten, which I still love. And then last fall, I built this IKEA hat coffee bar, which I'm absolutely obsessed with. And I think it just makes this space one of my favorite spaces in my home. This aqua colored paint was okay, but I thought it was a little bit boring. I wanted to add some pattern into the space. And the best way I know how to do that is with wallpaper. I've tried peel and stick wallpaper so many times with mostly good results. And now that I've done it for so many years, I have some game-changing hacks that I'm gonna share with you today. So here's everything you're gonna need for a successful peel and stick wallpaper application. Peel and stick wallpaper, I will link to the one that I use down in that description box below, as well as similar products that I've had good experiences with. This wallpaper spray, which I'll talk about later in the video, it's an absolute game changer. A utility knife with some fresh sharp blades, a pencil, a square and/or a ruler, a measuring tape, a solution of isopropyl alcohol and water, a microfiber cloth, scissors, and a hairdryer, which I'll talk about later in the video as well. So let's talk about the wallpaper itself. After trying dozens of different wallpapers, I've discovered that the thickness of the wallpaper really matters in the application. The thicker the wallpaper, the easier it's going to hang and the better it's gonna look in the end. It's not gonna show imperfections as well. This one is a lot thicker than budget brands that I've tried. I know it's on the pricier side, but I did buy it on sale and I love a good sale. Plus it's a Canadian brand. Yes, you can find cheaper options and you can even find peel and stick at the dollar store, but I would not recommend using dollar store peel and stick for wall projects like I'm doing here. It's just so thin and the quality isn't there. This is one of those situations where it is worth it to invest a little bit more in the paper so that you have the result that you want. There are some mid-range price point wallpapers that I've had good success with, and I'll make sure to link those below for you. The number one reason that peel and stick wallpaper and peel and stick tile for that matter fails is improper wall preparation. I've learned this the hard way multiple times, definitely in my camper renovation. So I'm using a 70% isopropyl alcohol solution. I'm mixing this dollar store alcohol with some water in this spray bottle. And I'm using this to spray all over my walls before I apply the wallpaper and wiping it with a microfiber cloth. This is gonna get rid of any grease, any dirt, and anything that's not going to let that wallpaper adhere properly to the wall. Make sure you clean the surface of your walls entirely, even all of those little corners, before you apply your wallpaper. I know this is a boring task, but trust me, it's gonna be absolutely worth it for the finished result. Another critical step here is making sure that you let your walls dry completely for a couple hours before you start your wallpaper application. And wall texture here is gonna matter too. My walls are smooth, which is the ultimate and the best texture for wallpaper. If you have more of a textured wall, you might want to consider smoothing them first with a skim coat. Another crucial but kind of strange tip is check your weather forecast. You want to apply your wallpaper on a day where the humidity isn't extremely high or low. This sounds funny, but honestly, it makes a huge difference in how your wallpaper is going to go up. Now for the measuring, you always want to measure your walls in a couple different spots, especially if you have an older home, which can have your walls at different levels in different spots. So take your tape measure and measure your wall in 2 to 3 different spots, and then you're going to add 2 inches to the top and 2 inches to the bottom, and that's going to be the length of wallpaper you're going to want to cut. The game changer hack here is using a laser level. Now this is a tool I would definitely recommend investing in if you're going to do a lot of wallpaper and DIYs. If you don't have one, try to borrow one from a family member or a friend. It's going to make a huge difference in how your wallpaper looks. Set it up and put it on your wall so you can see that start plumb line to make sure that the first strip of wallpaper is nice and straight. Believe me, not all house wall corners are going to be straight, so don't use those as your guide. Now to cut your wallpaper, I simply take my measurement and mark it on the paper with a straight edge and a pencil. The wallpaper pattern I'm using here is fantastic to cut because I can use the pattern to make sure that my lines are straight. If you don't have a patterned wallpaper with repeats like this, maybe you're using a stripe or a texture, make sure to invest in or borrow a square. Make sure that your cuts are nice and straight. Now, the hack that completely revolutionized my wallpaper game lately is using this product. It's called Roman's Wallpaper Helper. I will link it in that description box below. And what you do with this is you spray it on your wall before applying your peel and stick product. And the spray creates a microscopically thin layer that's going to add what's called slip to your wallpaper. So instead of putting your wallpaper on and then having it stick completely to the wall and you can't adjust it, you can't move it, this adds that little bit of slip so that you can slide your wallpaper around and you're able to match the pattern perfectly before it dries and sticks completely. So after spraying the wallpaper helper, you can start applying your first strip of wallpaper. And if you had it incorrectly positioned without this spray behind, you'd have to completely remove it. Sometimes my wallpaper would stick together on itself and that can be really frustrating. This gives you a little bit of grace so that you can move your paper into the perfect spot. I like to peel down about the first 12 inches of my paper from the backing first when I apply my paper to the wall, and then smooth that out and peel the rest of the backing down as I go. And once your wallpaper is perfectly aligned, you have it in the spot that you want it, you can use a smoothing tool to smooth it down. And I like to smooth diagonally from the side or the center of my paper going down. Do not use a credit card or any sort of hard tool. I've learned that the hard way and wrecked a couple wallpapers doing this. It's gonna scrape up your paper. Use a nice soft tool like this one. This tool came with my wallpaper, but I will link similar ones in that description box below for you. Another benefit to this wallpaper spray is that it actually increases the adhesion of the wallpaper after it dries. So I find that it's a really great addition to your DIY arsenal, especially if you're a beginner with peel and stick. It's gonna give you that little bit of grace as you apply your wallpaper to your walls. Once your wallpaper strip is positioned, give it a little tug at the corners to make sure it's properly bonded, and then you can go to your next panel. Now, bubbles in wallpaper are the absolute enemy, but they can be prevented. And the key is to use that smoothing tool and smooth from the center outward in those diagonal motions to make sure that there's no bubbles in your paper. If you have little bubbles, and if you're using that wallpaper spray behind your paper, you can easily just kind of shift your paper around, lift it up gently, reposition it, re-smooth it, and the bubbles should go away. Don't forget to take your time when you're smoothing your wallpaper, and that's going to give you the most beautiful finished product. Don't rush this step. You also don't want to pull or stretch the wallpaper as you're applying it, because that might change it a little bit and make it not match up to the next strip. Now, when you're applying the second panel, you're going to want to overlap it usually. If you look at the manufacturer's instructions that came with the wallpaper, they'll suggest an overlap. This one overlaps about 1/4 inch, so quite a big overlap on this one. Match the pattern at your eye level first, and then smooth it from there to the top and there to the bottom to make sure that your pattern lines up well. And once your seam is in place, you can use that smoothing tool to make sure you smooth that edge really well so it doesn't start to peel away. Now for the next hack, which is trimming around obstacles. For trim, what I do is I smooth my paper panel right up against that trim with my smoothing tool and just make a little crease. Then I use some scissors to cut away any excess bulk. And then I go in with the other side of my tool and my utility knife, using my tool as a straight edge to cut perfectly around the trim. You can use the same technique for around any other obstacles in your space, and this will create that nice professional finish. Now for interior corners in a space, what I like to do is wrap the paper around the corner, leaving about 1/4 inch of extra paper. Then I start a new piece on the other side of the corner, matching it up to the old piece. The reason that I have 2 different pieces in a corner is because, like I mentioned at the beginning of the video, not all corners, probably not many at all, are actually straight and square. So if you start a new piece and keep it level, that's gonna give you the best effect in the end. Now, if you need to patch a damaged section, or maybe you cut your wallpaper a little bit too short by accident, you can completely fix it by cutting a little strip to match the pattern. Then use your smoothing tool and a knife to patch it up, and nobody's ever gonna know. Now, before we get to the final reveal of my dining room, let's talk about wallpaper removal, which is often something that we don't talk about in these wallpaper tutorial videos. My secret weapon for that is a hairdryer. And what I like to do is gently heat up my wallpaper with a hairdryer before gently tugging it to remove it. And what this does is it warms up that adhesive, so it makes it easier to pull that wallpaper off. I've seen horror stories where people have ripped peel and stick products off like wallpaper or tile, and they've damaged their drywall behind. So heating it up with a blow dryer is gonna help prevent that. Gently pull your wallpaper away at a 45-degree angle, making sure you keep that adhesive nice and hot with a blow dryer, and hopefully you're not gonna have any issues. Now for the final touches in my dining room, I decided to swap out the area rug that I had in here. It was coffee stained. I was not able to fix it. So I found this gorgeous soft rug. It's washable too, and it really played with the green and the brown tones from the wallpaper. I'm also printing off some beautiful vintage inspired art and framing that in dollar store and Amazon frames, adding that to my coffee bar and my walls. I love changing out my art seasonally, and I actually have this artwork as a printable pack. It's so budget friendly. I'll link it down in that description box below. A really fun way to update your space for the season. It's also lilac season, so I'm adding some lilacs to my coffee bar to make my dining room feel beautiful for spring. And here it is, my completed dining room makeover with the gorgeous cottage inspired wallpaper, the new rug, and the little touches like the art and the flowers. I think the difference is incredible, from plain, kind of boring, not very cohesive, to this gorgeous vintage inspired space that really matches the rest of our traditional style home. I love the pattern in here. To me, it looks incredible. I love how the pattern flows seamlessly across the walls. I'm really happy with how this wallpaper applied, and I really like how it looks over the board and batten. There's a really nice contrast with the solid lines of the trim and the more organic shapes in the wallpaper. Now, if you're wondering about my DIY IKEA hat coffee bar, I'm gonna leave a video for you to watch next right here, where I go over exactly how I built it from start to finish and created the coffee bar of my dreams with easy and affordable IKEA pieces.